Hey everybody, welcome. Okay, so I wanted to do a quick overview of my Geomancer because we've been getting a lot of questions and conversations about him. So I wanted to kind of go over his kit real quick. So if we look at his stats, we are at 506 accuracy. 398 of that is from artifacts. The affinity bonus right now I'm only getting plus 30 from because that is not maxed out. And then masteries are giving him plus 78, putting him at the 506 that you see here. We're at 50,000 HP, 2577 for defense. Attack doesn't really matter, and 158 speed. So I've got two pieces of perception gear and then one set of accuracy gear. So with the perception gear here, you can see we've got a double roll on the accuracy on the weapon. We have a double roll on the accuracy for the helmet. For the shield, we just had a really good quadruple roll on the HP, and that was just something that, he needs that amount of HP because of the way his kit works. But it does bring us a little bit of extra accuracy, so we held on to that. On the gauntlets, I went with defense. This I probably would have gone with HP. I just went with defense because that's what my gear could support. And that had a decent enough accuracy roll on it to be worthwhile. So then we go to the chest plate. A lot of people were surprised to hear that I have 500 accuracy without an accuracy chest plate. 60% HP. Here we've got one roll on the accuracy. So a pretty significant amount of accuracy coming from there. I could probably throw some glyphs on these just to increase his defensive stats a little bit because that's kind of how he works, which I'll talk about here in just a second. Speed boots under accuracy here. We do have an additional accuracy roll, but we also mostly are looking at good HP roll here, which will give him some more stats. Going with HP on the ring. We did get an HP proc and defense, so this is giving him a ton of survivability right there. On the necklace, we're going with HP again. This didn't really give me. I mean, obviously, if you don't know, the rolls that you get on necklaces are not, or amulets are not usually good. They're all flat stats. So I did have accuracy, which is one of the reasons I went with it. With what my gear was and giving the survivability, this was probably the best piece that I could choose from. And then obviously we have to go accuracy on the banner. Huge amount, so it is a 6-star banner, so we're getting 19 or 96 accuracy rather. I did get some defense proc on there, so we do have a pretty, again, and an HP. So we are getting some more survivability there and for speed as well. I'm not worried about his speed so much as long as he gets one turn before the Iron Twins goes. Now, I did want to show you guys some Iron Twins play, but I don't know if it's... yeah, so Spirit Affinity, you can see Spirit Affinity. I do not have it all the way down here. I will say on Force Affinity, because he is a Force Affinity champion, I can actually farm stage 15 auto now. I don't even need to manual it. But for the sake of the video, or for the sake of kind of showing you guys how this build works, I am going to do a run here. So if I really try, I can do these, but they're not 100%. Obviously, I have yet to be able to get this one to work. If I do stage 13, it's not 100%, and sometimes it can take quite a while. Stage 11, I can actually probably auto, and it's probably fails like 1 in 5, which is, you get 6 tries, so not too bad. But for this, we'll do manual, and I'll kind of show you how the setup works. So you'll notice that I'm using A1s right now of all my characters, including my healing core. So I've got, I guess I didn't go over the team very well. I've got Geomancer, I've got Rector Drath, Ultimate Death Knight, Aox the Rememberer, and Pythion. So I don't want them to do any damage or use any of their heals at the beginning of the fight. So here I will put on the Geomancer's HP burn. So the way Geomancer works, and I'll go over his kit at the end of the video, is that whenever his HP burn is on an enemy and they attack, percentages of that damage is reflected back onto the attacker as long as the HP burn is up. So we want that HP burn to be up as much as possible, and we want him to attack as much as possible. Well, with the way Iron Twins works, is that when you put buffs on your team, he attacks. So here we'll it increased. You see boost turn meter, boost turn meter, boost turn meter. So his turn meter got boosted because I put perfect veils on everybody. Those perfect veils give me some damage resistance. Now I want to save those a little bit here because he's about to attack, so he gets a turn. So there you go. We had a big chunk of his health go down off of his attack. Now, one thing I want to point out that I do, I'm not necessarily saying that, everyone tries something different. This is just how it works for me. I only use the A1 of Geomancer when I'm not, when I'm, other than his A3. The reason for that is I don't want to do a bunch of damage. And I'll explain why. We might even get to see a proc here. So the Iron Twins boss at certain HP levels will proc, at which point he will attack you and wipe all debuffs on him. So you want to avoid that. Now, what's really unique about Geomancer's passive, I think I can get it pop up on the screen, right? Yeah. Decreases damage all allies receive and deflects damage on each enemy under an HP burn buff placed by this champion. If there are multiple champions on the team, so yeah, you can't have multiple Geos. Whenever this champion is attacked, deflects 30% of the damage instead. When deflecting damage on each enemy hit, has a 30% chance of dealing additional damage equal to 3% of the target's max HP. So he does a ton of damage when he gets hit. The problem is when the debuff falls off, well, you don't get that effect. He has to be under an HP burn placed by this champion. So again, big chunk of damage here. And when we get to Aox, I'll explain why Aox is in this build. So I am going to throw on these shields here. So boom, instantly finished his turn meter, but that HP burn naturally took his damage down below the percentage threshold. So he took off all his buffs and attacked me. One thing about Geomancer's damage output is if Geomancer takes him beyond those thresholds, he doesn't proc. If it's the reflect damage that takes him off of the past the threshold, he won't proc and do that attack he just did, which is why Geomancer is so effective here. The problem is if you do too much damage with your base team, or if you get him low enough and the HP burn itself does damage, he will proc and wipe the burn off. So the question is, we want him to be taking a lot of turns, and to do that, I bring a lot of buffers. So and healers that also provide those buffs. So you'll see here in a second, we're just using A1 here. Rector Draft is going to use her ability, so that decreases the damage I'm taking and heals everybody, right, passively. And then here, I'm going to use the Pythion heal, and again, we're adding buffs, so you'll see his turn meter filled up quite a bit. I don't quite have the shield from UDK yet. So now I'm sure you're wondering, well, if he's taking all these turns, how are you keeping the HP burn on there? Well, that's where Aox the Rememberer comes in. So the way Aox works, and we'll show you right now, his passive increases the duration of 2 random debuffs on the attacker by 1 turn when attacked. Occurs once per hit. So he's about to start doing his triple hits, and you'll see how many... I mean, this will get up to 7 sometimes. So we're going to pop this here. All right, so again, he did proc. This is a bit of the downfall of the build. And we did have some... So there was the triple hit. Obviously, the debuff wasn't on him, so Aox couldn't extend it. But we did lose some people here. So you have to be careful if you're using Pythion, because Pythion heals and puts buffs on, which, of course, increases the turn meter quite a bit. Good news is I'm able to put the HP burn back on. I'm able to use Rector Draft's revive here. We'll come in for an attack. And then... I have no books into Aox, because you don't need books into Aox for this build. So he's probably going to do a triple hit here. This is going to hurt quite a bit, but it hurt himself as well. So you see right here, we're up to 6 HP burn now. All of that is from Aox's passive. That just amped up the amount of burns. Sometimes when you get to this point, even if Geo dies, you can kind of just let the HP burn finish him off. I'm gonna try and keep ourselves alive here. It's actually kind of nice when Geo dies. That sounds kind of weird, but in this particular time, because I did already use my revive, it's not so good. That's a little bit of RNG, but the reason I like it when Geo dies is because I can revive him and he loses all of his Iron Brand stacks. Also, notice that my Ultimate Death Knight has 0 Iron Brand stacks. He is just super, super high resist. Back before the nerf to Brimstone, I used to solo this fight with Ultimate Death Knight being super high resist, and he couldn't get the Brimstone would just kill the boss that way. We don't want Brimstone on any of these heroes that are in this fight because again, Brimstone can proc that effect that we don't want to proc, right? So there you have it. It's as far as the later stages, it's a little difficult. Um, on that affinity, that's really the main issue. Is the affinity. So let's go back over Geomancer. So I have his Quicksand Grasp completely booked out, so it's a 3-turn rotation. As you saw, that's I'm able to keep it up pretty consistently doing that. I don't use this ability. It's a great ability for other fights, but for this, again, I don't want to do too much damage. I only want the damage to be caused by the passive effect and not by any other character's actual damage. Nothing special on Rector Draft. She's in bolster set. That's just some of the best gear that I have on the account because we've had 2 bolster events. I think I mentioned Ultimate Death Knight is super high resist. So he's at 311 resist. So at the difficulty we were doing, that's more than enough. 500 accuracy is required for the later stages of Iron Twins. That's why Geomancer has so much accuracy on him. Um, if he didn't, it would be. Uh, it, in fact, in the later stages, I still have it sometimes get resisted. So you really need to have that amount of accuracy on Geomancer. Let's go over Aox just a little bit because we didn't really talk about him too much. So he does have masteries. This is mostly because he needs to have high accuracy himself. So if we look at his stats, so again, 500 accuracy is the sweet spot. So Aox is at 540. Um, Again, he actually his chest isn't even completely maxed out. Just really good accuracy gear and of course triple stacking perception. And an accuracy banner. I mean, these are the keys. And you're thinking, well, he's not going to have survivability. Well, that's why he's in defense boots, HP chest, and defense boots, defense gloves, and defense boots. So he's slow, but we don't care that he's slow because he's not there to do anything other than his passive. And so that's the goal. And realizing that his gear could use a lot of upgrades, this is a great opportunity for me to know that now, and I can probably get some more survivability um, out of this because again, that spirit affinity, my whole team I think is force affinity, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Pythion is force, Rector Draft is force, Geomancer is force, Ultimate Death Knight is force, and Aox is force. So that's why Spirit Affinity is so hard. They get hit so much harder. They just lack the survivability, even with all the healing that I throw out. So that's not to say that I couldn't try and come up with a better team. Just at the moment, I haven't tried because I haven't really cared that much. The main thing that you're looking for in creating another team is survivability. I have done this build with the Mytha. Um, I felt like one hiccup. I don't know how block damage affects Geomancer. Rather than research it, I just went with a different build. Because I kept failing with this one more than I would have preferred. And Demitha's untouchable on my account. Because she is speed tuned for my clan boss, I can't modify her at all. So with that being the case, um, I didn't want to play around with her too much in this build and try and change the way it works. So With the characters that I have right now, this is just kind of the best. These are just kind of the best options for me. And so I just wanted to give you guys a brief kind of review on that, so you knew. I wish there was another way to see like the different difficulties right now, so you can see that I do have both the magic stage and the force stage, and I think the void stage farmed, where I get all the way down to stage 15, but most of the time, just because I'm lazy, I'll just come here and do stage 11 on auto. Or I can do stage 15 on force. I know that. I tested it last night. Sometimes it fails on auto, but it's worth it if you have a chance to get eternal soul essences or immortal soul essences. Just to kind of support this a little bit, I'll come in here and you can kind of see my resources if I go to the market. So yeah, 15. These are all from pretty much from running at the difficulty that I'm running at. So I could talk about this all day. If you guys have any questions, post them in the Discord. But that's about it. Thanks.